Hello everyone and welcome to Thursday Tea Time at 3:30. Today we're discussing inclusive and sustainable innovation with Kelly Kalaitzaki, VP of Multicultural Client Strategy lead at Morgan Stanley. The session also features two super scale-ups, Green Story, who enable brands to make the most of sustainability data, and Level, whose solution enables businesses' employees to more easily take control of their financial situation. As always, if you need investment advice, help with challenging financial matters, or legal brainpower, our sponsors Investec, Lewis Silkin, and Hayes McIntyre are here to give any friend of grey hair works free advice to help you sleep better at night. But to kick off, here's a quick reminder of why grey hair works. Innovating is hard, it's complex, and if it becomes easy, it stops becoming innovation. And what innovation means to each of us and each business is different. At Grey Hair Works, we make getting results from innovation simpler, focusing on solving problems, capitalizing on opportunities, and improving the performance of strategies and tactics across insights, marketing, and commerce for brands. We help corporates save money and time in delivering results with a curated portfolio of digital solution partners and innovation services. We also help scale up founders with investor readiness through Grey V. And with our Grace & Co offering, we put together blended strategic and executional teams to solve modern marketing problems faster. Our portfolio and services are supported by those that have really been there and done that. A team of over 90 mature C-level executives from Red Bull to P&G, NBC Universal to Mars, who help us make a genuine difference. And as you can see, have a low tolerance for bullshit. When it comes to genuinely making a difference, our speaker today is no exception. Having joined Morgan Stanley in 2012, Kelly works in the corporate strategy team with a focus on creating access and opportunities to support inclusive innovation. More specifically, establishing the Multicultural Innovation Lab in EMEA. Kelly, thank you so much for joining us today.
Great to be here, Ben. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Well, I've given a very bad description of what you do, perhaps, and your background. Maybe tell us a bit more about yourself to start with.
I don't think I can beat such a great introduction, but I'll do my best, Ben. So thank you so much. I'll give you a little bit of background of who I am and my journey to date. So I am originally from Greece, as you can probably tell from my name, and I have been living in London for about 12 years. I joined Morgan Stanley almost a decade ago and started my career at the bank in shipping and commodities. It's a very exciting world and also very traditional in Greece, so I was naturally very good at that. I had a couple of roles in the division in about 2.5 years, and before I decided to move out of the physical oil world and move more into a strategic role. So then I worked in corporate strategy for about 7 years, before joining the Multicultural Innovation Lab in London a couple of months ago and committing full-time to this wonderful initiative that I'm going to tell you a little bit more a little bit later. But my journey to entrepreneurship is not new. I have tried very unsuccessfully to do an app myself years ago. And ever since, I decided to devote myself mentoring startups and have been involved in various female entrepreneurship initiatives. So I'm very passionate about what we do in this lab. So I'm very glad to have the opportunity to do it within Morgan Stanley.
Absolutely, and it's a great platform that we'll talk about later to launch such a pivotal initiative. Could maybe talk more specifically then about the Multicultural Innovation Lab, because I know it has been running in the States for some time and you're really championing the EMEA version of this, but it'd be good to paint a bit more of a picture about what it does.
Absolutely. So the Multicultural Innovation Lab is our in-house accelerator focusing on startups with female and/or ethnic minority founders, raising, I would say, post-seed to Series A funding. It started almost 5 years ago in the US and has funded over 51 companies to date. We started with 5 companies in 2017, and since then we expanded to running 2 cohorts a year of up to 10 companies each. So clearly, the in-house accelerator model has proven very successful, and we have finally launched it to Europe, Middle East, and Africa, as we really wanted to give opportunities to more entrepreneurs globally. And like it started in the US, we were going to focus on 5 companies who will join our accelerator program in EMEA for 5 months during the second half of 2022. Of course, if the pilot is successful, which we strongly believe it will be, there should be no reason why we can't advance the program going forward.
And it sounds like, you know, you've landed in a well-proven process and program that's working. When it comes down to the types of companies that best work in the accelerator that you've created, can you paint a bit more of a picture about what you're looking for at Morgan Stanley and what those businesses need to look like that are going to thrive within the program you've created?
Absolutely. In terms of the companies we're focusing on, because we focus on specifically female and ethnic minority founders, we are sector agnostic in terms of who can participate in the lab. So sectors we've seen are ranging from healthcare to consumer products, engineering, to climate tech and ESG broadly. It does have to be a tech-enabled business involved in a sustainable commercial endeavor, and we want to see some indication of initial funding, for example, some seed funding. It doesn't matter if it's from institution or family and friends, and we also wanted to see some track record in the form of revenue and customer base and some traction. But above all, to your point, what we actually want to see is like proof of passion, belief in the idea, commitment, excitement, openness to learn and grow, because it all comes up to the founder.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And not all accelerators, incubators are successful in their endeavors, and not everyone thrives from them. Maybe could you just share a bit more about some of the challenge that you face at Morgan Stanley in terms of what the problem is or the challenges you face within the accelerator?
Absolutely. Actually, I can break that question into some of the challenges we face because we're focusing broadly in the EMEA region, which is Europe, Middle East, and Africa, is obviously the complexity of the region itself. So it's because it's like more fragmented in terms of countries, and even the word multicultural means different things to different people. Getting into the ecosystem, understanding it, and effectively establish a presence could be quite challenging. But also we have a really great challenge, which is the hardest task, I guess, for any investor, whether an angel, a VC, an accelerator, which is the selection of the companies. We have so many wonderful ideas coming our way for this year, and we can only accommodate 5 in EMEA and up to 10 more in our US accelerator. So hopefully we'll be able to accommodate more companies and create more opportunities for the founders in the region going forward.
A nice problem to have.
Exactly.
So a bit more of a challenging question, and one that I think you probably get quite a lot. Why should Morgan Stanley or anyone that's in their sort of that vertical be creating a lab that supports inclusivity and social responsibility and sustainability?
Absolutely, Ben, and that is a great question. In terms of our motivations, back in 2017, when the lab started in the US, we actually sought to find solutions to the profound funding gap that multicultural and female founders face. And when we looked at it, it seemed that there were many people talking about this issue, but only very few initiatives were actually trying to address the systemic deficit and commit capital to help solve for the gap. And then fast forward 5 years, when we looked at EMEA, the picture is the same, if not worse. And I can give you a little bit of context in terms of numbers. Female founders only last year received only 1.1% of the capital raised by companies, which is actually down from 2.4% in 2020, according to a large study on the challenges facing the European tech. And depending on what source you're looking at, if you look at ethnic minority founding teams, they actually raised 1.3% of total funding, while about 9% went to mixed genders. So we can see that the problem is clear. Women and ethnic minority entrepreneurs are being disenfranchised from the capital raising landscape, and the Multicultural Lab is meant not only to highlight this systemic inequity, but also offer a platform for early stage female and multicultural entrepreneurs to tap valuable capital. Obviously, just to also touch upon the commercial side of things, there is a clear disparity and inefficiency in the market, which naturally creates a gap and an opportunity. And it can definitely generate returns for us as a business, as these businesses also tend to be very profitable in later stages. So obviously, as you can imagine, those potential profits, given we're still early in the circle, will take a little bit of time to materialize.
That's good. Yeah. And your last point is interesting because we did talk about this in the prep for this session, was around, you know, the expected returns for more socially responsible businesses, inclusive business in relation to more capitalist focused businesses. But actually your position is that because they are inclusive, because they are businesses that take social responsibility, actually they've become very commercially strong because of the way they're positioned. Great. And I at the end of the session as well, we'll promote this, but there were some great examples of businesses that have gone through and are running through the existing accelerator right now that we can share. Is there any that you wanted to call out in particular, or should people come directly to you to find out more about the types of businesses that have gone through the process?
Oh, they should absolutely come back to me if they have an amazing idea. And especially to your point, for us, sustainability is also a big thematic, right? Because for me, it's like sustainability is also a synonym for positive impact and anything and everything that translates into actions that are not harmful for the environment and society broadly. And so even as a lab, to your point about this kind of sustainability sector, our mission is effectively to advance the financial wherewithal and commerciality of the companies that are striving to do business without negatively impacting the environment, the community, or the society as a whole. And so anybody that has any idea that falls under this impact bucket, I would love if they would get in touch.
Absolutely. Well, I was going to ask you a bit more pointedly about the role of sustainability in a hot topic, but actually, slightly earlier than maybe planned, it might be a good time to bring in Akhil from Green Story, who is the founder, and Akhil, maybe to talk a bit more about your solution to Kelly.
Excellent. Thank you, Ben, and thanks a lot, Kelly. It's quite an inspiring initiative that you have there. So hi, everyone. My name's Akhil, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Green Story. And what we do at the company is quite simple. We help brands primarily in the fashion space meet their commitments to sustainability. And this is important for many, many reasons, two of which are really core is the consumer landscape is really changing. More and more consumers, more and more the customers of brands expect companies to be sustainable and to be transparent about it. And the legislative landscape is rapidly changing. Anti-greenwashing legislation is now fully enforced across a lot of countries in Europe, and big fines are on the way. So companies want a way to ensure that their sustainability messaging and marketing is on brand, but at the same time is not falling foul of legislation. And that's what we help them do. So here's what Green Story is. We're a SaaS platform, but we also have a consultancy along with that to enable companies to get the data that they need, to showcase it accurately, and to present it within the customer experience. So it's not about going to a sustainability report somewhere. As you're browsing the website of a brand or like in any social media, you can actually see what's the impact that the brand's having through their sustainability practices. And for the brands, it's great because it really allows them to get ahead and future-proof and risk-proof themselves against legislation that's coming out. This is how the difference really works. Like we really focus on the customer experience when we work with brands. When you start off, a lot of messaging that's out there, for example, with our client here in Pangaya is a little bit fractured, and you kind of see it in many, many different places. What Green Story does is allows them to present all of the sustainability information in a thematic and uniform way across all of their channels. The platform is built in such a way such that you can actually present it across your customer funnel. So from awareness to evaluation to post-purchase to advocacy, you can actually, through our APIs and widgets, embed it into social media, into emails, into the shopping carts and the product pages, which is showing through clear data and clear metrics how a company is being sustainable, what's the impact of their sustainable choices, and even what's the impact of them going carbon neutral. And we actually provide an end-to-end solution for carbon neutrality as well on a product basis for companies. Here's a case study of a company that you might have all heard of, Pangaya. It's one of the fastest rising clothing companies in the UK. And how Green Story works is we become truly embedded in a company's sustainability journey and landscape. Not only do we work with them to help them understand how to better source items, how to kind of look at their supply chain and understand the impact they're having in terms of water impact, carbon, energy emissions, and a bunch of other things. But we connect this whole back-end sustainability stuff to the commercial aspect of things, where people can actually see and measure what's the impact that they're having by presenting this information to their customers. With Pangaya, we not only were able to work with them to kind of showcase the impact of their sustainable sourcing, they also had very strong carbon neutrality goals. We were able to work with them to find the right carbon neutrality project for them, carbon offsets projects, source them completely for them, and again, embed them into the customer journey, not just online, but offline as well, so they can truly claim to be carbon neutral with their products. We work with a host of brands worldwide. We work with over 150 different brands, primarily in the fashion space. And our goal is really about helping these brands take the next step in their sustainability journey, ensure they're doing it smoothly with less pressure, and to ensure that legislation isn't tripping them up as this becomes more and more an important factor.
Thank you, Akhil. You busted the 3-minute mark there. And just to clarify on your case study, it's not, you haven't saved 1.2 of a t-shirt, right?
No, it's basically that's for an individual product. So we can aggregate in many different ways, either at a product level or like at a company level or even at a user level.
Cool. Kelly, your thoughts on this?
First of all, I have to say, what a great idea, Akhil, and how amazing to see this. And thank you for your presentation as well. I have some questions for you, if you don't mind. And the first one I wanted to ask you, just maybe to take you a little bit of a step back, what led you to establish the Green Story?
It's mostly my background within sustainability. So I've been working in the space since 2007, and a lot of the work that I used to do was all these thick reports on ESG and sustainability, which never really went anywhere. So I wanted to try and connect all of the sustainability work with the commercial narrative, and to ensure that the chief sustainability officer is talking to the CFO and the chief commercial officer. And this really works that way, because you're talking about supply chains, but it is a very commercial way to present it. So there's a huge incentive for companies then to talk about sustainability and present it, because they can then connect to the commercial narrative and build a stronger case for it.
Amazing. And speaking about companies and the way you engage with them, what do you think are the main blockers for the brands and the corporates engaging with sustainability and Green Story in particular?
It does depend on the level of the company, but more and more as we work with bigger and bigger brands, what we're finding is they don't know where to start in a lot of ways, because they've been so used to working in a particular way, they might not even know which products to start with. So what we're starting to do a lot is kind of help them understand what their own blockers are and walk with them to find out which are the supply chains they should tackle first, how we should get the data, and even like coach some of the suppliers at times to get the data for them. So we're trying to provide a truly like one-stop shop for them, where they go in and they're like, look, I want to be more sustainable. Green Story kind of make it happen.
Absolutely, and that, to your point, will be very helpful for all sorts of businesses out there. And in terms of your product, like, how were you able to understand that the product's impact, and how do you actually ensure that the data works, if I may ask?
Absolutely. So we actually have a very strong team of PhDs. They're life cycle assessment scientists, and the process of life cycle assessment is really looking at the material flows across the supply chain, analyzing invoices, other data that we have, either on a technology level by getting the data directly from them, or really physically looking at invoices and materials. And the team is able to kind of break that down with our system to understand on a per unit basis how much carbon went into it, how much water is used up, how much waste was generated at the end of the day. So for this shirt, for example, I can say that this shirt generated like 12 kgs of carbon to be produced.
Got it. It sounds quite complicated if you ask me, but I know you have, as you said, an army of experts behind it. So it's amazing to hear. And if I may ask, what is the commercial model for the business?
So we are a traditional SaaS business, but we actually have 2 more revenue streams built on top of it. So companies pay us for the platform, but we also source carbon offsets for them, which are highly verified. And because you're not going through the middleman, we kind of ensure that you get the best prices for them as well. And the last bit that we do is we also do, as I said, custom consulting for some of these companies who are just getting started to kind of get them on their journey. So that's how we make money.
Super, thanks, Akhil. And I'm sure Kelly's got some more questions, but just to change the focus a little bit, I wanted to bring in Stephen from Level to talk about his business, which ticks more of the social responsibility, but also financial responsibility box. Stephen, talk about Level.
Thanks, Ben, and good afternoon, Kelly, and good afternoon, everyone who's dialed in today. My name is Stephen Holday. I'm the founder of Level Financial Technology, and our mission at Level is to make pay go further. We want to empower and enable workers to be better custodians of the wages that they earn, with the obvious benefits to both the workers, their employers, and to wider society as a whole. And we do that by partnering with employers to enable workers to instantly access, save, and budget directly from their earned pay. To take a step back, in terms of the problem we're solving here, we think this is a massive problem. That over the last 20 or 30 years, the way in which we spend money has changed dramatically, but the way in which we earn money and are paid money, as if anything, has got worse. 85% of the UK population are paid monthly in arrears. And for a significant minority of the population who live paycheck to paycheck and have very little in the way of savings, this pay frequency really matters. And part of the reason it matters is that the banking system does not help you with this problem. Simply put, if you need £100 for a week, Barclays Bank won't facilitate that transaction. They might give you a means-tested overdraft or in more extreme circumstances a payday loan, but they are more kind of part of the problem rather than part of the solution. This manifests itself in financial stress that's taken into the workplace, and that impacts productivity, making this a problem that falls at the foot of the employers ultimately. The solution of all this is to bring the best of the fintech world into the workplace, because in the workplace you can combine financial technology with the power of the salary link to offer products and services that are just 10x better than anything available on the open market. So our on-demand pay service puts workers in control of their pay date, a simple way to access their accrued pay for a small one-off transaction fee. The money's in their account in a matter of seconds, with no default risk and no big charges. We combine this with open banking powered budgeting tools and salary link savings to make a holistic solution to the here and now financial well-being for the worker. The benefit to the employer is that this has been proven to improve recruitment, retention, and the filling of shifts, and can also form part of financial well-being and ESG strategy. Just finally, in terms of a case study, we rolled out Level, our full service across Capita PLC in the UK, 35,000 strong, large, diversified workforce. I think the key point to make here is it's shown that we have the processes, the right regulatory badges to deploy in a big, complex organization. And in terms of really the key outcomes here for the employer, we have shown that staff who use Level within Capita's call center, their biggest division, have exhibited half the level of attrition than staff who don't use Level. And given the costs of retention and recruitment, that makes for a massive cost saving for the company, and obviously a better outcome for the workers as well. I'll pause there. I'm happy to take any questions you guys have.
Stephen, that's great. Kelly, over to you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Stephen. It's actually great to hear that that solution from your end. I have a couple of questions, I guess, in terms of the product per se. What is the advantage that the payroll-linked saving offering actually has, as opposed to just, let's say, going to my local bank, if I may ask?
Yeah, it's a good question. Like it comes back to this power of the salary link. Because you save directly from payroll, from a product perspective, we believe we have the fastest onboarding journey of any savings account in the world, because lots of the details you normally need to fill in to open a savings account, we can pull from payroll, and we can expedite that whole user journey. The second part is more around behavioral science and user behavior. If you set that I want to save £50 on payday, which is the point in the month when you've got the most money, and you set that, and it just automatically saves an autopilot in the background, it helps get you into that savings habit. And we have a big report on a study we've done with the government's behavioural insights team on this coming out in about a month's time. And then finally, very simply for the user, the way in which you design the product to back into the banking system means that we will consistently be able to offer the highest rates of interest on the market in FSCS government guaranteed bank accounts. So it's the best product for the user, as well.
That's great, thank you. And why is your on-demand pay solution much cheaper than what banks offer?
Again, it comes back to the salary link, because I guess the reason lots of what the FCA call high cost short-term credit, overdrafts, payday loans, credit cards are so controversial is that these are regulated consumer credit products. So there's a set cost to set up the product, and then there's obviously the credit risk that comes with it. What our solution does is negate all of that, because we're not lending the worker money. We are simply allowing them to access money they have already earned. And by partnering with the employer to give them access to their accrued but as yet unpaid wages, we negate all the costs associated with making a loan. And this is more akin to a payment. The fee that we charge is more akin to an ATM fee. Quite simply, it's their money. If they wish to access it, we provide that through partnership with the employer. And you end up with a solution that is 10x cheaper, 10x faster, and way more ethical than any solution the banking system's ever come up with.
That is very interesting. And I have one final question for you. Do you think that on-demand pay will become the norm?
I do. I think this will become a utility service that all employers move to offer, and it'll be one of those things you look back from years now and you sort of say, well, I remember when I used to get paid every 30 days and get paid 12 times a year. So really what we're looking for is those sectors that are the most likely early adopters, where you see that tipping point, because once a significant cohort of employers start to offer this service, it will become a problem for other employers if they don't offer this service. And really technology is allowing this to happen. And if employers embrace it for the good of their staff, I think it's something which will become, a standard thing in any job description going forward. Certainly that's our hope and belief.
Stephen, if I may jump in, one of the outcomes that you have with Capita is the positive response rate and the take-up rate, which is often a challenge when it comes down to employee benefits. Can you maybe talk a bit more about why that reception was so strong?
When you're offering a product that's almost completely new, both in terms of the sell to the employer and then to the employees, you're really looking for those early innovators who want to take on a new piece of technological product. And I think one of the most interesting things is all the feedback we get through the help desk and seeing the data. And people very quickly go from thinking, oh, this is a nice new solution, to it is my right to have this solution. I've earned this money. If I want to access it, and look, there's safeguards around it, people are able to access a limited amount. Users go straight to the benefit. It's my money. I need it. I've got a problem to solve. They really like that, and they're happy to talk about it with their co-workers. So there gets to be a sort of virality around the take-up in a firm.
Perfect, great. And I think that's a really good endpoint in terms of, as an employee, it's the right to have your money, and you're enabling that to make it more positive for both the employer and the employee. So listen, we heard today from Kelly, who talked about how important it is for businesses like Morgan Stanley to take a proactive role in supporting socially responsible and sustainable businesses, and moreover, how they're specifically doing that. As Kelly mentioned, please do reach out to the Grey Hair Works team or Kelly herself to find out more, and we'd be happy to connect you. We also heard from Green Story about how brands can use them to drive better business by capturing, validating, and leveraging sustainability data in a simpler way, easier for me to say. And Level, whose solution simply but effectively enables businesses to support their staff with financial management that leads to better retention and, importantly, staff well-being. We'll be pausing the Tea Time series to make space for some exciting new events. So please do keep tuned into the Grey Hair Works comms for more information on these. But for now, thanks to our speakers, thanks to our sponsors as always, and thank you very much for joining.